Hello everyone, this is an addendum video for this episode of Beermas. I thought I'd just film this for funsies, and this is a video to kind of explain how to set up attack lines here in Hearts of Iron. And if you're interested in learning that, maybe this will help you out. So here we go. So I'm going to be setting up a main attack into Poland here, and just to give you a quick overview of the troops I'm going to be using, I have a main infantry division of 7 infantry, 2 artillery, engineer, support artillery, recon, and I might later on add signals company and support anti-tank, but not right now. And then for my tanks, I have 4 motorized, 4 light tanks, although you want to generally have a combat width of 20. But I don't have enough tanks production here, and really this is sufficient for right now. Later on I'll add medium tanks, which I'm producing right now. But these have maintenance company, which you want to, because tanks are so costly to produce, you want them to kind of not be lost to attrition as much. And then I also have the signals company, and what signal company does is how do I? Okay, so if you look over here, initiative, it gives you 20% initiative, which means that they are more likely to attack, which is always useful if you're going to be doing a lot of attacking. So the main idea here is going to be to have a general infantry army that kind of supports my tanks as they move in, and I have 3 full infantry armies here under a field marshal that I'm going to be using. And if you want to know how to kind of assign troops easily to field marshals and armies, I find the use of this theater thing over here very useful. So I've set it up so I have 2 theaters right now, a western front and eastern front. Western front just got these dudes hanging out. Eastern front, I've got 2 field marshals right now, 1 for my infantry, 1 for my panzer tanks. And if you want to assign an army, so I'm going to unassign this guy. You can unassign by just clicking up here in this top button. And if you have an army that's unassigned, you can just, so this field marshal is pink. So I just click down there, right click down there, and he gets added to that, under that field marshal, and you can move him, wherever very easily just by clicking and right clicking. Pretty easy. So I'm gonna select this whole group, army group, this field marshal, and just assign him to a front line by left clicking here. And that assigns them along this whole border. But I really don't want them along the whole border. I want them just at this little border here with Germany, because Hungary has their own troops they can kind of defend with. So I'm going to readjust these borders so that they're more concentrated. And you can do that by selecting the army. So I want to shrink this down here. So I'm going to select this guy, shrink this, which grows that one. So we shrink this guy, that guy moves up. So if I shrink this guy, that guy moves up. And then I'm going to shrink this front line down, so that's only there. Oh. Let's see what has occurred here. You gotta shrink the whole army line. There we go. Okay. So now, and then I just want to kind of make these even amount of distance across the line so that they're all kind of concentrated in the area. Because you don't want them all spread out, because then, if they need, the AI will decide to redeploy troops. And so if they're having to redeploy troops from here all the way up here, that's a lot of wasted time and resources. And it's probably not going to go well for you. So you just want them to redeploy in a short area. So if it senses it needs more troops over here, it only has to move troops from over here, not all the way up in here. So that's nice. And then I'm just going to assign my border guards here. And then I'm going to assign my tanks that are going to push onto up here on Danzig in this zone right here. And the reason I'm putting them there is because if you'll notice, there's a lot of forts along this front, whereas this is relatively unguarded except for Danzig itself. So it's just much easier to attack from here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and shorten this because they don't need to defend that with those guys there. And then I'm gonna assign my other tanks. They are gonna be in this area here. And then I'm gonna move all the people to their positions. And there we go. Everybody's ready. But we need to assign attack orders. So I'm going to assign the tank attack orders first. So I want these guys to push mainly into this area. And you can see it went from green to yellow. That just means that the amount of troops you have in that army are more spread out at yellow than they are at green. And they're way more spread out when you're at red like that. And you want to avoid being too spread out. So I'm going to try and stay with green, but really for this, yellow should be just fine. And then these guys, they're just going to push right into here. And that way they open this to attack from this province to attack from these two provinces, so they've got them kind of encircled. And then for my whole army, if I select the whole field marshal, I don't want to attack straight into these forts because that's just throwing people away needlessly. I only want to attack to get this capture point, and then kind of support the push on Warsaw here. And then we'll get this capture point down here. That's like my first thrust. But then I don't want them to stop there because that probably won't be enough to capitulate Poland. So we want to keep moving and we want to take these other victory points. So now they'll kind of keep moving there once they're done with that one. Although I don't think that got assigned correctly because what you want is to do them in sequential order, not two orders at once, if that makes sense. So we have that one, and then well, we will do 3 then. That's the way it's gonna be. There. 3 attack orders where they move, they take this zone, then they take that, and then they take that. And then we'll want to do the same thing with the tanks there. Give them another attack order to kind of also move up to here. good enough. All right, so that should do it. And I don't know if I'm gonna cut it here or if I'm gonna fast forward or edit or something, or if you want to fast forward yourself. We'll see how it goes, but I haven't assigned my planes yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that because we'll need those. And I will kind of ignore the other theater for right now. So I'm just adding some fighters here, adding some combat air support. Do the same over here. I mean, that should be sufficient for purposes of this. I'll just have these guys defend here for right now. Yeah. Okay. We'll just do this. Yeah, I don't need to do that right now. Okay. So I'm gonna make sure that I have the attack bonuses here that I want real quickly. I should have had this assigned before, but you know, I just didn't have time. Okay. I'm not going to invite Italy right now because I find that they kind of fuck things up, and I don't want that. You know. Alright, so I believe I can declare war on them. No. No. Yes. Oh. Yes. Yes. This doesn't go well, I'm not releasing this video, so it will probably go well. Oh, the other thing you can do is clicking this button allows you to tell them how aggressively or carefully to execute their battle plans, and really for this, the best thing to do, I find, is to do it aggressively because that allows you to encircle and trap and just generally disrupt them pretty well. So here we go. You want to initiate the attacks there. Oh, China. Hang on. Yeah, so you can see we're just thrusting quite nicely into the appropriate zones. And sometimes you have to make minor adjustments based on how they go here. Let's see, I moved that myself and now it's losing, so sometimes it does know best. I don't think my troops were in place when I did this, which is my mistake, I suppose. But we're getting it, as you can see, quite quickly. I don't even know when I started, but can't be too far from it. And we're moving in on Warsaw, and I suppose you could do something more fancy like taking you know, doing encirclements or whatnot, but I find that not necessary for Poland because they'll capitulate anyway. Now it is necessary for the Soviet Union because you want to try and drain their manpower quickly, or as much as you can. But we'll have Poland wrapped up here in a second. And now I have unlocked my ability to go around Maginot here, and we'll do that next. I won't have a video for that, but you can imagine how it would go, and that's all she wrote.